Hi, welcome to the video. So today I'm going to talk about how you can improve quicker on guitar. And the way to do this is to practice when you have downtime. Maybe you're commuting to school or work, or you've got downtime at school or work, or you're laying in bed and having trouble falling asleep. Use those times when you don't have your guitar. Maybe you don't even have access to a phone to watch videos or things like that, to increase your knowledge on guitar so that then when you actually have your guitar, you don't have to focus on that mental aspect. You can focus, because basically guitar, you have the physical aspect of playing the notes, synchronizing your hands and all that, which you pretty much need the guitar to be able to do at a high level. But the mental aspect of what are the chord fingerings, scale fingerings, chord progressions, chords in a key, intervals, all this stuff you can do without your guitar. And you can do it without a lot of theory knowledge too. I'll show you how you can take the stuff you already know and extrapolate that into many other possibilities. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to work on that, increasing your knowledge on guitar. And we're going to do that through visualizing the neck and then running through a bunch of different possibilities. So the first thing that you do need to know for this, and this is about the only thing you need to know, is you have to be able to at least count up on any of your strings like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and figure out what the names of the notes are and where they are on the neck. If you don't know how to do that, that's perfectly okay, but I'll refer you up to the corner. I'll put a link, which will also be in the description. I've got a two-part video. The first one is how to find notes on the neck using counting up like that, octaves and adjacent strings. And the second part is how to apply that to your playing. So check out at least that first part on it. Once you can kind of count up and figure out, it doesn't matter if you know right off the top of your head. You don't have to know that 4th fret, 2nd string is a D sharp or E flat, or that 10th fret on the 3rd string is a F. You don't need to know that just off the top of your head. But doing the exercise we do today will help you to know that, which will allow you to do the exercises quicker, because you won't have to think so much about where the notes are. And you'll understand how everything kind of works together better on that. So, and all this, and for those exercises on notes and neck, you can do that completely in your head. What I'd recommend is try and visualize, actually see the neck when you do it. If you need to close your eyes to this, that's perfectly fine. As long as you're, again, don't do this type of exercises when you're driving or doing anything that's, you could hurt yourself, because you need to focus on the exercise. But, so visualize. What I usually do is just a small part of the neck. So like one position, 4 to 6 frets on it. So if I'm thinking of counting up the neck, instead of physically playing A, B, C, D, I'm going to see those strings in that little piece of the neck. I'm going to see in my head that A note light up, then the B note, then the C note, as I say those to myself. Now you could also see your finger actually touching it. Whatever works for you to visualize, but you want to actually visualize which note is being played, and then as you move up, your visualization moves up too with it. So you are following and just focusing on a little piece of the neck. Okay, so now once you can do that, the next step, and you can kind of mix up these orders and work on what you prefer, but I would work on knowing what notes are in the chords you know. So this will also help you to know the notes on the neck better. So for example, if you're doing A minor, you then think, okay, open A, E, A again, C, E. Now, how does that benefit you? It benefits you because if you know what notes are in the chord, anything that's duplicated, there's more than one of, you don't actually need. So you can simplify your shapes or change them on that. You can also create new fingerings, because if you know that A minor is just A, C, and E, any combination of A minor or A, C, and E anywhere on the neck that uses all 3 of those notes is a valid A minor chord. And by just knowing that and doing it and thinking of every possibility, and usually you'll have multiple different possibilities. So for example, if I'm on an A here, I can reach forward for the E, but it doesn't have to be in order either. It can be any order of those 3. So I can also reach back for the C, and that will give me different fingerings. If you go A, C, E this way, or A, E, A, C this way, you can come up with nearly endless combinations. I did a video just to demonstrate how many possibilities there were, where I took a C major 7 chord and I created 28 movable shapes on it, and those were what I consider practical shapes. I didn't even include some of the shapes of some books too that I thought were too much of a stretch or too awkward. Otherwise I would have had over 30 different shapes. Now, once you know a movable shape in it like that, if I know C major 7 movable shape, then I can take that and move it to any fret. And if it's a root position, wherever the root is in the new position will be, in this case, a G major 7. So you can apply it to any of the 12 notes on the guitar. Okay, so why does simplification help? Let's say I move that C shape up into like an F. Now if you look at this, F, A, C, F, A. So you notice F and A, there's two, there's F and A on the top and on the low notes and the high notes. There's only one C, so that C has to be in every fingering I do coming from the shape. But that will allow me to then take, let's say this shape's too hard for me, or I want a different type of sound. I can play just the bass notes, that's still F. I can play the middle notes, that's the first inversion, but it's still F. And it doesn't matter if you know what inversion it is. If I play the top 3, that's a second inversion, but it's still F. Now you can play the top 4 strings, or the low 4 strings, or all 5. So from that one shape, I created a total of 6 shapes, 5 more variations. So that's a good exercise you can do in your mind of thinking through, okay, what's other possibilities I can do? Or what's a different fingering for it? Maybe you go this fingering, which you then maybe simplify into this fingering. So it will expand your chord knowledge by doing that. If you know some basic things as far as chord formulas or intervals, now if you don't know what intervals are, you don't need it for most of the things we do today. But if you want to check out, I've got a video, which I'll link up in the corner also, explaining intervals and some ways to practice them. Okay, but for example, if you just know that a major 7, for example, is just a major chord with the note 1 fret back from the root added to it, and the dominant 7 or minor 7 is, a dominant 7 is a major chord with the flat 7 or 2 frets back added, and the minor 7 is a minor chord with the flat 7 also added. If you just know those 7s, then you will be able to make any of your major or minor chords into the 7th chords. Now, even if you don't want to think about those intervals and stuff, and don't want to think about that at all, if you know one fingering of a major 7 or a minor 7, dominant 7, then you just look at what the notes are. C, E, G, B. So the only note that changed was B. So now if you just add that B note to any of my other C major chords, you will have the 7. Now, one easy way to do that, add a 7th, is just take off one of the octaves of the roots. And again, the 7 will be 1 fret back. So let's say I'm doing a D major. Here's the D. 1 fret back would be this, that would be the major 7. So there's a D major 7. So again, a little bit of chord theory will allow you to create a ton of new shapes from the ones you already know. Okay, so let's go and keep going. So beyond the chord stuff, you can also apply any of this into scales and arpeggios. Now, how does knowing the notes in a chord help you with arpeggios? Well, arpeggios are just notes of a chord played one at a time. So if I'm playing like a C major arpeggio, it's still just C, E, G, C, E. That doesn't matter how big or how small shape, it's still just those 3 notes of the chord. If you have a more complex chord, like a 9th chord or whatever, if you learn what the notes are in the 9th chord, and you play them one at a time, you have the arpeggio for that. So knowing the notes in a chord will also tell you the notes in the arpeggio. Then instead of holding them together, arpeggio is just playing them one at a time. So then you can add all those different little classical, jazz, metal type licks into your playing that includes arpeggios. Okay. Same thing you do with scales. If I know what notes are in a scale, whatever scale it is, it could be pentatonics, A, C, D, E, G. Then I can take the same notes in a different order, it doesn't matter. C, D, E, G, A, G, A, and I can find all the rest of the fingerings for pentatonics in the key off that one, knowing that one. Same thing with your 7-note scales. If I know A minor, I can find the G mixolydian by just starting on G and playing the same 7 notes. So instead of A, B, C, D, F, G, I go G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Locrian, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, same 7 notes. So you can figure out from one scale, if you know the notes in any one scale, you can find fingerings across the entire neck for that same scale, all the ones in the key. Okay, so some other things you can do. If you know what a circle of fifths is, basically it's a circle that shows you how many sharps and flats every key has. And it's called circle of fifths because it moves in a fifth if you go clockwise. Now, a fifth is just the distance of a power chord. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, C, 5. Okay, so on the circle of fifths, if you're interested in learning, okay, what key has 2 sharps or what key has 3 flats, a way to do that is visualize starting at the top, which is no sharps, no flats, key of C. Then just C on the neck. Okay, if I do a C, then where would the fifth be? Well, the fifth is just 2 frets up on the string under it, so it'd be this. That's the fifth. Now, what note is that? That's a G. So that's a key of 1 sharp. If I take a G, and you can start over in the 6th string if that's easiest for you to visualize, it's okay. Or you could start on this G and go 5th up. Doesn't matter. A 5th up from G is D, so that's 2 sharps. 5th up from D is A, 3 sharps. 5th up from A is E, 4 sharps, so etc. Now, when you go to flat keys, you could continue around on fifths all the way around, or you can start back at C and do a fourth. Fourth is directly below. So C again is no sharps, no flats. F would be 1 flat. B flat would be 2 flats. E flat would be 3 flats. And again, if it's easier for you to visualize, you can go from the 6th string. So that's a way you can start to memorize what keys have how many sharps and flats. If you're interested, again, do what you're interested in. You don't have to do every exercise I'm going to talk about today. Now, if you understand those different keys, you can practice different chord progressions. So we just talked about that the 4th is directly below the root, and the 5th is like a power chord shape, 2 frets up. So if I want to do a 1, 4, 5 chord progression, doesn't matter if I'm doing it with bar shapes, C, F, G, or open chords, but it's easier to visualize with the bar shapes. I can then take that to any keys. I could take it around the circle of fifths. So I could then go G and say, okay, and those are the 3 major chords in a key. So if I start in G, what are the 1, 4, 5 chord progression? And 1, 4, 5 just refers to, again, if you count up in the scale in numbers, the 1st chord, the 4th chord, and 5th chord in the key. So that would be G, C, D. Now again, visualize on the neck. You don't need your guitar. Think, okay, I'm at 3rd fret, 6th string. What's directly below it? If you need to count up A, B, C, that's fine. So you think, okay, C. So, and then that's my 4, and then D would be my 5. Now if I continue around the circle of fifths, go D, D, G, A, A, D, E. So again, you can figure out the major chords in any key just by doing that. And I'll go ahead and link up in the corner to, again, all these videos will be in the description, a video where I talk about finding what chords are in a key, and I go into more depth on that. And you can take any chord progression, doesn't matter. If you'd rather do a 2-5-1, which is common in jazz and stuff, then the 2, if my root is C, the 2 is just the D. The 5 is still the G, and then back to 1 on C. Now, in this case, the 2 is a minor chord, major chord, and major chord. If you wanted to do it in 7, so it'd be minor 7, dominant 7, major 7. Okay, but again, you can do any chord progression you already know and then transfer it to other keys. Another thing you can do is take any licks you know, and if you know a lick, let's say in this lower octave, whatever it is, then in your head trying to say, okay, I'm going to take this lick and remove it an octave higher or 2 octaves higher, and then try and figure out what that is in your head and what fingering would be best for it. Now, sometimes what the fingering you figure out in your head, whether it's for a chord scale, wherever, you might get back to your guitar and think, this just doesn't work, but that's okay. You still are learning the neck better. So if you end up with some fingering that's awkward and you don't like, it's okay. You still, again, are learning from this process, and you're further ahead than if you hadn't tried anything. Another thing you do is you can run the intervals through a scale as a way of scale practice in your head to help you visualize what it is. Intervals, like if you do a third, is what most arpeggios are built from, stacked thirds. So let's say I'm in C. I can think, okay, I'm going to go up a third, so C, D, E. So C to E would be a third. But I can also finger that this way. So visualize in your head, okay, I'm at 8th fret, 6th string, a third up would be 12th fret on the 6th string, or down to 5th string at the 7th fret. And then you can continue through the scale doing a third off each one to, again, just help your mind see the different shapes and say, okay, next one, the third off the D would be an F. Next one off E would be G. So you can kind of move through the scale and visualize different jumps to help you, again, see possibilities within the scale. And then try it, of course, with your guitar too. But you'll be able to do it quicker if you've done it through your head first than if the first time you try it is with your guitar. So again, it's trying to maximize the time you have with your guitar to improve the quickest you can. And basically extra practice time that you wouldn't be gaining if you didn't do these mental exercises. Another thing you could learn, let's say you want to learn standard sheet music, maybe you feel okay reading Every Good Boy Does Fine and Face, the notes on the staff, but you don't feel comfortable with the above or below the staff where the ledger lines are. So you might think, okay, I know the first space above the top line of the staff is a G. Then I go up one ledger line, it would be an A. And you visualize, instead of visualizing the guitar in this case, you visualize the staff and where the notes fall within that. And that can help you to, then when you see it, if you're reading standard music, to recognize it quicker. And I have to go, okay, what is 2 ledger lines above the staff? What note is that? Or what is the third line in the staff? Another thing you can use to help yourself is visualization of things you already know, to ingrain them in your memory stronger. So if you know a song or a lick or something, but you just learned it that day, for example, a good thing to do is when you're laying in bed before you fall asleep, go through, in this case, if you're thinking more shapes, if you're thinking chord progression, just picture that progression, but picture it accurately. If you don't know what the notes, you can think what fret, 3rd fret, 7th fret, 5th fret. If you know them, think, okay, G, B, D, G, B, A. Think about that and run through it, the whole part in your head. You get your stuff into your long-term memory when you sleep. That helps to kind of write it into your memory. So they've had studies that show that if you work on something right before you go to sleep, that will help put it in your long-term memory better than if you worked on it a few hours before going to sleep, for example. Okay, so basically there's endless possibilities. Anything you can think of on your guitar that you have trouble remembering or figuring out, you can do it in your head, and that will just save you time when you get back to your guitar and you can try it. So please like, subscribe, leave comments. That will helps my channel grow, and I'll see you next time. So thanks for watching.